Hey, you made it. Welcome back to the Coaching Corner with me, creator, founder, and CEO of the LifePrint Operating System, Justin Furness. And really, from my heart to yours, thank you so much. I'm truly grateful and appreciative that you're still here, you're still watching these videos, and it just shows me that you're probably one of the smartest people in the world. Simply because you're interested in your own self-development. And from what I know of 17 years in applied behavior science, coaching, change management, and integrative medicine, I know that the more you work on yourself and the more you develop yourself, the better connection with your perception and your engagement with your reality. And so the more you work on yourself, the better you actually have as an experience in terms of your everyday life to life. So today I thought it was really, really important to really understand what is the difference between your instinct and your intuitive flow. And how can we shift from stress to success? And this is what I call the stress switch. So welcome to your sense of instinct and intuitive flow. Let's dive right in, shall we? Just going to share my screen and we're going to dive right into our personal performance software. And we're in. Right, so far we've covered our life cycles, the calendar, and literally the neurological archetype. Now, there's a lot of places we can go, but for me, the most important place to go is what we call our stress switch. Why? Because nothing else matters whether we're in a protective state or growth state. That's what we want to know. Obviously, like for the most part, we want to experience life happening for us, not to us. And so typically when we're stressed and we're switched, that's why I call it a stress switch, because we switch into stress. Typically when we switch, our whole state goes into a protective spin. Okay, so let's have a look at this, right? So we have this stress and success, right? And we call it the stress switch. And this stress switch is really our instinctive and our intuitive flow. Our instinctive flow is literally when we are completely stressed out and we're just instinctively reacting. And this is necessary sometimes because this is where you activate your fight, flight, or freeze response, right? And then freeze goes into ultimate freeze, which is actually faint. You actually got to distance, you can't be there. You've got to, you tap out, right? So we've got fight, flight, and freeze. And then at the worst, faint, right? But what we really want is flow. And you can see that this is actually a category, right? Because fighting takes energy and you need to be aware. You're in instinct. That's literally fight. Flight, that takes a lot of energy to fight, right? Flight still takes a lot of energy, but it's a lot easier than fighting. Okay, so you run away. Okay. Freeze means there's less energy available. So you actually don't know what to do. You're confused, you shut down and you just freeze. You don't take any action because you just, so the brain is just stuck, right? And then when it's so bad, you either faint or disassociate that you can't actually be conscious about what's happening to you, okay? Typically, flow is one step up from fight without the tension in the system. So there's what I call frictionless flow, right? Frictionless flow is where you want to go, but it's literally more It doesn't take as much energy as fighting, but it's frictionless. It's still a lot of energy in that flow state, but the flow is not out of tension. The flow is out of attention, meaning I'm at awareness without the tension, right? And this all happens within the stress switch. And this stress switch is what we call the instinct and the intuitive performance. So what's the difference? Well, it just takes us a little bit to go. And if you've got a fright there, that's your instinct. It doesn't have time to think what just happened, right? It just instinctively responds. It doesn't have time to go through a rational process of this. It literally responds to the environment without thinking about it. There's just an unconscious, instinctive reaction to something that's happening, okay? That's instinctive. You don't have time to think about it. Now, intuitive is on the opposite sense. Intuition is where it's insightful. There's no tension in the system. It's a frictionless flow state where you're in this insightful reception mode. And now, yes, you can have an instinctive intuition because there's actually levels of this. There's very big levels of this within your instinct and your intuition. Both have layers. It's not just a binary switch. It's a gradient. So almost like in the old days, the switch could only do one thing. It could go on and it could go off. That was it. It was either on or off, right? But your instinct and your intuitive state and this position actually has a gradient. It's almost like a dimmer switch. So it goes instinct or intuition, and then it has this gradient in between. And so we start off at the instinct, right? We start off at the instinct, but then you get instinctive, intuitive. So it's a gradient. And then you get intuitive, instinctive. And so the layers go on. I'm not going to go into a whole intuitive training, but typically this is your stress state and it'll switch. And so when you're in an instinctive emotional overreaction or physical overreaction or mental overreaction or whatever you've got in this position, this is going to impact your stress switch. This is one of the most important things because a person will not be receptive until they are out of stress. And so part of, if you're a coach, if you're a parent, if you're a manager of talent, if you run a team, you really want to pay attention here. But this is as it relates to the neurological archetype. Remember, the neurological archetype in the video that we discussed before is the governor of how this is going to respond. So remember, it's always using that as the instruction manual. And so this state here, your stress switch, which is governing between whether you're an intuitive flow or whether you're an instinctual reaction, both are normal for you. Just remember that. Both are normal for you to experience. We all get stressed out. But what we want to give you is just the tools and the strategies to take you out of that stress, to know what it is you need in order to feel fulfilled and valued, and then to take action on that. I hope that today's training has been helpful for you and that it benefits you to grow and to understand yourself from a much deeper level, maybe a layer that you've never considered before. And I hope that this allows you that space and that place to feel the certainty of self so that you can start reaching for the things that I know you deserve. And so thank you very much for your attention. And once again, we really would like to hear from you and let us know if there's anything that we can help you with, that you want to learn more with, or that you have help with, or whether you're enjoying this training series. Otherwise, we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So please let us know. We wish you a successful week, day, month, and year ahead. Thank you very much from me here at the LifePrint Operating System in Switzerland. Have a beautiful